Hi friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back again with another Blaha video because he just popped this up, I think 25 seconds ago, just like popped up, bro. And I saw it and I was like, what? Again, you know, the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave himself, Jason Blaha. We're going to react to his, whatever this video is, bro. Anyway, so Blaha says, unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion? Okay, whatever. Eccentric reps don't stimulate muscle growth in advanced lifters? What? Eccentric exercise is the only exercise that stimulates myofibular growth, contractile proteins. Okay, dude? Concentric does not build myofibulars. Doesn't do anything. You can pump if you're adapted to your exercises and you're doing like full range concentric exercises, then what you're going to get is sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. That's what you're going to get. Now, I'm not saying that power lifters, look, man, I'm an advanced lifter. When I finally built my body, it was in my late 90s, in my late 20s, okay? Yeah. So I don't know what Blaha's talking about. What's an advanced lifter to him? He's not an advanced lifter, Blaha. He doesn't know anything about lifting. But anyways, whatever, man. I don't want to get into it. So I have no clue what he's talking about here. But let's listen to this crazy video.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about why eccentric reps probably don't add meaningful hypertrophy for advanced lifters. If you guys would please click like on the video, though, I would greatly appreciate it. Follow or subscribe if you aren't yet, and please.
Why doesn't it build muscles in advanced lifters? So a person that is an advanced lifter can't build any muscle. They cannot hypertrophy. What? Oh, they can hypertrophy the sarcoplasm, this artificial muscle growth, but they can't hypertrophy real muscles. Wow, this is incredible.
Leave me a comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it. So over to this topic, I understand that statement is controversial, but in a lot of circles it's not. In particular, I've seen guys like Paul Carter. I've seen, Chris Beardsley point out that the data on this, there actually isn't any evidence that advanced lifters grow at all from eccentric reps. And I'm going to tend to agree with that.
Advanced lifters do not grow from eccentric reps. Well, if you're adapted to the eccentric, if you're adapted coming in every day, if you come in every day, you're adapted. You're adapted to the exercises, doing the same exercises and doing them in and out all the time, whatever. You're not going to get a new adaptation. You specifically are not going to get a new adaptation if you're lifting concentrically like power lifters, what they're doing, bro. They don't lift eccentrically. So I don't know what Blaha's talking about. Powerlifting is not bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is eccentric, is based on eccentric lifting. Powerlifting is based on concentric lifting. Okay? So that doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
But before I even jump in and discuss the evidence, people are going to point out the anecdote. They're going to say, well, you're wrong because this bodybuilder says it or that bodybuilder says it, or some bodybuilders, they'll say bodybuilders.
You know he's making this video because that's all I talk about on my channel. And he knows that. On my old channel, this channel.
Well, if you say bodybuilders say something, then you have to accept everything that bodybuilders say. Because it's not necessarily all bodybuilders.
I'm not saying that. Bodybuilding, oh crap, powerlifting, the big four, they took that from bodybuilding. The people that do calisthenics, they took that, the pull-ups and the dips, they took it from bodybuilding. That's all incorporated in bodybuilding. That's why bodybuilding is a much more advanced modality. You understand me? But it is not a sport. You understand? They're gonna definitely get jacked. That's why they're jacked. These what do you call them? These calisthenic guys. But it's because those exercises that they do are mostly eccentric. But anyways, powerlifting is concentric. So, man, how do you measure this stuff? Crap, it's you can't, man, whatever. You can't compare them, bro. Anyways, bodybuilding is not a sport. It compromises sportive performance because it's based on eccentric lifting. You're there to build as much myofibulars as you can And then it's a carryover to every sport. That's the whole point. So it's great for agility in sports, a bunch of things. That's why in the past, if you listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had to break into these gyms because they were made for sports people, like soccer players and things like that. So the soccer team had a gym, but he wasn't part of the soccer team. So he had to break in and use their stuff to bodybuild, because they used bodybuilding for these purposes, to grow muscles, to build muscles, and then that would prevent these injuries of agility, moving across the field and doing certain things. But people that don't know how to use bodybuilding properly, they are adapted, or they do concentric, they're always going to get injured. They haven't built themselves big and strong so they can prevent injury. A lot of the stuff that you do in sports, it's eccentric, and eccentric is what injures you. But when you build yourself big and strong eccentrically, you don't have to worry about that stuff. You understand me, man?
There's definitely plenty of Mr. Olympias didn't do controlled eccentrics at all in their training footage.
Mr. Olympias are drug addicts. They take drugs. They're cosmetic. You can't compare the two. It's fake. They don't bodybuild.
So before people jump in and say bodybuilders, it's like, okay, well, there are bodybuilders who say you need to max on the bench press and deadlift. There are also...
What bodybuilders? The fake people that call themselves bodybuilders that go on a stage to perform or something? That isn't bodybuilding. Christ.
Bodybuilders who say 15 reps builds the most muscle. There are bodybuilders who... So do you see the problem?
How the hell can a rep build a muscle? These bodybuilders say there's 15 reps build a muscle. What bodybuilders? You mean drug addicts? This guy lives in a fantasy world. Listen to me. Blaha is delusional. He lives in a fantasy world. You understand me? Fantasy. He's trying to convince you that you can't build muscle. I told you this before. All these people, these influencers like him and everybody, that is their whole adage, to enslave you, lifting in the garage as a lifting slave like him with no athletic abilities whatsoever, wasting your time and your life away.
You can't just say bodybuilders say, because it's definitely not ubiquitous.
Bodybuilders say, the science, PubMed, NCBI says. That's who says, okay, Blaha? That's who says. Everything is about eccentric. They never talk about concentric in fucking PubMed, NCBI. Okay, dude? So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't stand anything that you say. And I don't really care anyways.
Before people jump into that anecdote, you need to remember, yes, there are lots of bodybuilders who focus on slow eccentrics, plenty of them. There are plenty of bodybuilders who placed in the top 5 or won the Mr. Olympia who didn't do slow eccentrics. So you can't really say, well, bodybuilders...
He doesn't have to. He did concentric and it failed him. And then he took drugs and he kept lifting concentrically. And guess what happened? It overstimulated. It doesn't... Listen, they're lifting... doesn't build myofibulars, these drug addicts. They don't build myofibulars. What the steroid did was overstimulate protein. That's it. That's all it did. It overstimulated it in their body. And the sarcoplasm expanded like crazy. See what I mean? It's wow, I think people are so out to lunch.
Do it, therefore it works. Well, it's not necessarily the case. You guys ever watch Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger train? Just going to throw that out there.
Ronnie Coleman and Arnold Schwarzenegger are not even Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronnie Coleman without their steroids, bro. Get it? Have you seen what they look like? They look like dog shit.
You ever see any of their training footage? Do you see any real slow eccentrics, or do they just do continual pumps?
Why do they need to do continuous eccentrics? They're taking steroids. It's a cosmetic. They're creating an artificial look to go on a stage. That's not a sport. That's not a sport. Bodybuilding compromises sportive performance because it's a carryover to every sport. You're building myofibulars, Blaha. Get it, man? Yeah, get it?
With pretty fast reps. I don't see them doing much of anything slow.
I don't care.
Any of those guys. They both won the Mr. Olympia quite a few times.
Who gives a shit? That's not bodybuilding. That is a beauty pageant. You understand me? That's why they take cosmetics called steroids. They used it as a means of cosmetics to go up on stage and look cool. See what I mean? A woman, when she wants to look really pretty, she wants to change her natural look into a very pretty face. She paints it, get it with cosmetics. It's temporary. Then she washes it off. When the steroids go away, guess what? All that artificial fake body that they built goes away because it's all over the internet. We've all seen it, blaha. You understand me? And whatever you're doing is not really working that well for you because whatever the steroids do, I think if I were you, I'd ask for my money back because you look terrible, whatever the steroids you're using.
Quite a few times.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
How about Branch Warren? He didn't ever do slow eccentrics. What about Jay Cutler?
Yeah, how about Branch Worm, a drug addict? How about Jay Cutler, another drug addict? He wouldn't do slow eccentrics, sure, yeah.
He didn't really do a lot of slow eccentrics either, from what I can see. So you can't.
Why do they need to do slow eccentrics? They're on drugs. It's for normal people, normal people. You do eccentrics so you can build more myofibulares, you dumbass, so you don't have to be a lifting slave. Enslave yourself to this garage, dude.
Say, well, bodybuilders. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And again,
I don't know. You say you're bodybuilding, right? Right? That's what you're doing in your garage. So why aren't you going on stage and performing? See, Blaha contradicts himself. He says he's bodybuilding, so why aren't you going on stage and performing if that's what you consider, but that's what bodybuilding is, right? You think it's this aesthetic look or something. Go on stage and go perform or go pose for people. I don't know.
Saying that we need to emulate the methods of.
I'm not saying you can't pose. If you want, you can pose. Show yourself. You show your gains, whatever that you gained. I don't know, eccentrically. Let's say you lifted eccentrically. Well, you document it. You want to see what you look like because your body changes. It kind of changes over the years. Cells change. You age, whatever. I don't know. You want to document everything.
Genetically elite bodybuilders who are on copious amounts of anabolic.
Genetically elite bodybuilders that are on copious amounts of anabolics. Okay, if they have such great genetics, why did they need to take steroids then? That's the whole point. The steroid is the genetics. You're injecting these plant genetics in you, man. What are you talking about? Let me explain something to you. If all these people had such elite genetics, then they wouldn't have to take steroids. You understand me? And genetics have nothing to do with building myofibulars. You gotta damage them. And then your body has to go through a repair and remodeling. But if you don't want to do that, then don't do that. Get it? Do what everybody else is doing.
But by that same token, if you're going to use bodybuilders as an example, you have to realize a lot of these greats didn't do this method. So let's get that out of the way. Number two, I'm not even.
What greats? What greats? What are you talking about? What is Blaha talking about? Is Sandow not a great? Was he not built? I don't know what he did. Maybe he did some eccentrics, maybe not a lot. I'll tell you this. Eccentric exercise is not popular in the lifting world. Hasn't been popular for a long time. See what I mean? People understand it. They know in the martial arts world, they know about eccentric exercises. Some people come onto it and they're like, okay, I got sore, I got this damage, it hurts. You know what it is, right? Do you equate it with growth? I don't know. It depends. Some people don't, some people do. It depends. I don't know. They don't know anything about real lifting. They just want to enslave themselves to get good at lifting weights. Like movers, these movers, they move furniture all day. They get good at moving furniture all day. They get paid to do that. Get it? You don't get paid to lift weights. You pay the guy to lift his weights in the gym. How crazy is that? You pay somebody so you can go enslave yourself and lift their weights in the gym like a lifting slave. You have to be mad out of your mind. I don't go often to a gym, and the gym I go to is free right now. Now, I can't film there, but it's free, and it's a pretty good gym. And guess what? I don't go often to the gym. So why should I go to a gym and I have to pay and whatever? And sometimes I don't go for 5 months. Sometimes I don't go for a couple months here and there. There's no point. There's no point because I'm not a slave to the gym. I just go there to build some more myofibulars if I can now. In the past, I was trying to rehabilitate myself going to a gym because I was having so many problems. I had some nerve damage. You know, that's totally different. People go to gyms, they try to rehab themselves, they try to work it out. But nobody's exactly sure what's, you know, how to get rid of it or this, that. They're just like, they'll try anything. You know what I mean? People try anything because we don't know anything. We're always in a learning phase, constantly. I'm always learning, bro, all my life. You're learning all your life and you're gonna die stupid. And Blaha, he just doesn't learn anything and he's definitely gonna die stupid.
Saying eccentrics aren't useful from a practical perspective because they are. In other words,
they're in the conjugate program. Read it.
Letting every rep drop at free fall speed is probably not good if you want to stay injury free.
We don't drop weights free fall, bro. We don't that's not how you do eccentrics. That's ridiculous.
So when we make these statements, we need to have some common sense.
I'll explain this. Eccentrics are always controlled. The reason why these fake bodybuilders get injured is because they didn't build any myofibulars to protect them from getting that injured. Get it? It makes you strong so you never get injured. And so we grow with the weight. Naturally, eccentrically, we grow with the weight. But these bodybuilders, they're lifting concentrically. They are not lifting eccentrically. They're adapted to the weights. And that steroid is giving them more force production than their body can handle. And so that's the reason they go really heavy because of the steroid and their body's weak. That how should I put it? It's like a capacity of a bridge or an elevator. The elevator, it has a thing there. It says, this elevator, the capacity, you don't want to exceed 1,000 pounds. Get it? Okay. A bridge says you can't exceed 5,000 pounds or something. You can't go over it with a 10,000 pound truck or something. And when they do, guess what happens? These cracks start to appear. The bridge gets damaged. Or an elevator, the cord, it starts to tear because you've exceeded that capacity, what it could handle. And then bam, you get an injury, bro. Get it? They get injured, these crazy people, these power lifters, whatever, fake bodybuilders. Then they have to end up in the hospital and surgery.
Before I get into it, have some common sense. I'm not telling you to curl and let go of it. I'm not telling you to drop away to the floor and pick it back up. I'm not telling you to dive bomb every rep into your chest on the bench press, because that would be stupid. So again, when you make a statement, people say, so you're saying, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you'll probably get hurt that way. It's just dumb. Okay? Have some common sense on a topic like this. If you want to avoid injuries, you should probably have reasonably controlled eccentrics. I wouldn't recommend you do a whole lot of eccentrics faster than about 1 to 2 seconds. Probably not a good idea. But what does the data show? Because there have been so many conflicting studies. There were studies, a couple that showed eccentric only training produced more muscle than concentric only. We saw some where
what is he talking about? It's superior to concentric lifting. Eccentric in every modality. He's a nut.
Produced more muscle than concentric only. We saw
produce more muscle than concentric. Concentric does not produce any muscle. Bro, concentric exercises do not produce muscle at all. You're squeezing the muscle in the concentric. It's always in the eccentric that muscles get damaged. Okay, let's just put it this way. When we're initiating, that's still eccentric when you're initiating. But when you reach the isometric part, now it becomes concentric. When you lower it, hit isometric, it's still concentric going down. It kind of is concentric still, get it? So that phase between the isometric, concentric, that's all concentric up there. In the bottom, it's all eccentric at the bottom. So you want to come up eccentrically, isometrically, and then go back down eccentrically, eccentrically to the bottom. So you just simply want to stay right there in that medium. Even these people, they figure it out, but they don't understand it, but they have an idea. And I listen to them in their channels. They're not sure, but they always say, oh, you have to stay right here but they never use the word isometric. They just stay in the middle. You have to stay right here in this one part. Yeah, because it's eccentric. That's why, because they're in the eccentric. They're between the eccentric, concentric. They're hovering in between there in the middle. See what I mean? But they're not going above concentric.
some where mixed training versus concentric versus eccentric only, that the concentric only.
But here's the kicker. If you come in often, then regardless whether you do full range, so you're going eccentric, isometric, concentric, isometric, eccentric, you're adapted. So if you're adapted doing these exercises, right, you're not doing, how should I put it? You're not doing a lot of sets. Yeah, if you wanna, you could still bring back that damage doing a full range of motion, but you're gonna have to overwork that muscle like a motherfucker, bro. Get it? So that's why a full body, upper body on the day, 5 times 10, will overwork every single muscle group. So you're gonna have to do every single muscle group. That's a lot. That takes me 3-4 hours to do that type of workout. See what I mean? I still get the concentric, but here's the thing. The reason why we do eccentric overload, because that's the shortest route. There's really no point doing the concentric. You don't need that because it'll exhaust you. That's why the workouts are so much longer in a full range of motion trying to get this damage to come back.
Produced less. We saw some where it produced more. All these conflicting studies. We saw a study come out where the VMO of the quad grew faster from 4-second eccentrics and 2-second eccentrics, but the triceps grew faster.
Grew faster from 4 seconds to 2 seconds eccentrics? What are you talking about? The muscles don't grow lifting weights. They get damaged and then they go through repair and remodeling. Blah is delusional. I told you before.
From 2 seconds versus 4 seconds. We have all this conflicting stuff. We had a bunch of studies that showed that muscle mass is less when eccentric when you lower the weight more than 4 seconds. We have multiple studies.
What? There's less mass if you lower it more than 4 seconds? What the hell is he talking about? He's insane.
It showed you absolutely gain less muscle. So
you don't gain, Oh, wow. You gain contractile proteins, bro. You're building contractile proteins lifting eccentrically. That's what it does. It does not build concentric, does not build contractile proteins.
In that case, we know it causes less growth. Here's the problem. So we get over.
So that way we know there's less growth because there was growth in 2 seconds from 5 seconds. 5 seconds to 2 seconds grew a muscle. How do you grow a muscle in 5 seconds of lifting? I've never heard of a muscle growing within 5 seconds to 4 seconds. Well, 4 seconds didn't grow it, but 5 seconds grew a muscle. But the 5 seconds did it, but the 4 seconds did. What the hell is he talking about?
To the stuff that Schoenfeld produced. He was one of the people, the 3 guys on the
Schoenfeld, who gives a shit about him? They're dumb. They don't know anything.
last meta-analysis that looked at it, and what they determined based upon.
I did a meta-analysis. He probably read it. I just did it recently. I put up a meta-analysis again. I don't have to do it every time. It gets boring, bro. Get it? It simply states eccentric is superior to concentric when it comes to strength and muscle mass. That's it. Strength and mass.
Their research, there seemed to be no difference between 2-second and 4-second eccentrics in terms of muscle growth. Across the board, other than the VMO of the quads, the 4-second eccentric seemed to produce slightly more hypertrophy than a 2-second, but in general, for all the other muscles, they couldn't find.
All eccentrics produce muscle if you're not adapted to it. But if you're adapted to your eccentric exercises, it will not damage, and then it will not go through a repair and a remodeling. So I don't know what Blaha's talking about, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. To damage a muscle fiber, wow, it has to go through a lot of sets and repetitions, between 8 and 12, and a lot of sets. There has to be a lot of work to cause it to micro damage, because every time you get this damage and it goes through repair and remodeling, it is now resilient from further assaults from your workouts. You understand me? So you're gonna have to do slightly more, something more. You can still lift that real heavy load that you were lifting previously. You could still go with that, but eventually that's going to feel so light, and you're probably going to add more weight to it. See what I mean? Or you add more sets. Like I said, you add more sets to lifting until you get strong enough. Let's say you're still not strong enough lifting that weight. It still kind of feels a little heavy, something. Add more sets. If you add more sets, then they'll get damaged. The weaker, deeper muscle fibers will get damaged. See what I mean? And it'll make you stronger at it. And then you come back and you'll be like, okay, it's a little bit lighter, so now I add some weight to it. Now that you add weight to it, do you need more sets? No. See what I mean? So you added more weight, you do the lesser sets. Okay, you come back again, maybe it's still kind of heavy. Okay, add more sets now. That's all, to keep progressing. So it's either sets or reps. It's either sets or weight that you're adding. Sometimes you're adding weight, same scheme. Then sometimes you're, I don't know, doing more sets. Depends, bro. Anyways, I bounced there anyways. So you get the idea.
Couldn't find any difference. And then people say, okay, well, so some eccentric then matters then, so what's going on? Well, here's the problem with that. These studies were in novice lifters.
Again, only eccentrics build muscle. So if you're not getting damaged in the eccentric, you are not building any muscle. That's it.
I'm about to go.
It's really simple.
So you take the fact that all the studies showing muscle growth at all from eccentric reps are in novice lifters. They're never trained lifters. Why does that?
No, it's not. No, the lifters are trained. They're just untrained doing that exercise. Sometimes they tell them that. No, they're trained lifters there too as well. See what I mean? But the problem is they're adapted. My Blaha's really out to lunch. Not all the studies are like that because I've posted them.
Matter. Because trained lifters don't grow slow twitch muscle fibers.
What?
That's really only happened.
He's making that shit up because trained lifters do not build fast twitch muscle fibers. You mean they don't build sarcomeres in series and in parallel? What are you talking about? So what is the point of going to the gym? Guys, what's the point of going to the gym? You're never building any muscle. So why go to the gym? Because I know, because you could watch Blaha lifting in his garage, or you could take steroids. You have to take steroids like Blaha says because you're not building muscles. You could take these fake powders and creatines or whatever. Yeah, hooray.
In your first year or so in the gym. By that third, you've been training hard about 3 years. You're not going to get your slow twitch muscle fibers to grow anymore unless you...
That's bullshit, man. I did it in less than a year. I got brutally fucking massive and super strong, bro. I was fucking punching through doors, doing weird shit, bro, punching bags. I went nuts. You can ask my friend, you can ask my Mexican friend. He'll tell you when we lived in PV in Mexico, bro, I'm telling you, I fucking punched through windshields, doors and everything. I went crazy. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff because that's what bodybuilding does. When you build more myofibrillars, you get fucking jacked, super strong. You understand me? Hell, if I punched through a wall and I wrecked my whole arm, I wouldn't even own it. That's how strong I was. It was crazy.
Up your dose, bro, with that there syringe. You have to up
Oh, there you go. See, up your dose with a syringe. Steroids, you understand me?
the dose to get it to start growing. It's not going to grow from lifting weights.
It's not going to grow from lifting weights. It's going to grow from a syringe. But how does steroids build a myofibrillar? He just told you that eccentrics, these people, they don't build muscles through eccentrics. So you remember, eccentrics damage muscles. That's how you build these sarcomeres in series and parallel. But he says you can't do that. You have to take a steroid and inject it. So how can a molecule, remember stem cells and damage is what builds myofibrillars in series and parallel. But so how does a steroid build them if you're not getting damaged? If you're not damaged and you're adapted to your exercises, especially you're lifting concentrically, then how the fuck can a steroid build a myofibrillar?
Your fast twitch fibers that grow. So why does that matter? Because all the studies on eccentric show that only the slow twitch fibers really get activated. In other words, you do a 10 rep set, right?
Yeah. The fast twitch, no, it's not just the fast twitch. The slow twitch as well, they get damaged. But the fast twitch, they get damaged. But here's the thing. Even in steroid people, it says that the satellite cell it's dependent on the satellite cell being activated for them to get these nuclei and them to get some muscle fibers. Yeah, it says that, man, in fucking science, bro. You understand me? Because sometimes they get damaged because they do things they're unaccustomed to doing. It's not that everything has to be unaccustomed. Get it? But they are unaccustomed when they're lifting heavier and doing more sets, maybe, or something. They got this damage. And so they build some muscle, maybe a little bit here and there. but not a lot, because they're not focused on doing that.
failure. You do a 10 rep set to failure,
Okay.
right? Control like a knife.
And okay, you do it to failure, but you're adapted to your exercise because you've adapted yourself by coming in 6 days a week lifting or whatever, coming in often and lifting. Okay. And you go to failure every time. And what? And so what? You're adapted to these exercises. It's protected. There's no damage.
Control set of curls. You do it to failure. You get a 10th rep, you can't finish it. Comes down, right? What does the study show? Where do the fast twitch fibers start kicking in? Around rep 4 to 6, where you start seeing the fast twitch fibers kicking in. If you're controlling it and not going super fast, they start kicking in around.
Well, if you're not damaged already, you don't have any micro damages in your muscles, and you're kind of adapted to your exercises. If you do something in that training session that you are unaccustomed to doing, like a heavy eccentric overload, sets and reps for sets and reps, then yes, you could get damaged. You understand me? You'll get damaged. You understand me? You don't have to go to failure. You'll get damaged because you've never done that before. You understand me? And then, but here's the kicker. It still needs to go through a repair and a remodeling. That takes 1 week. So if these guys come back and they start working through the damage, they actually lose sarcomeres because they die. They die. They didn't go through a repair and a remodeling. They allowed them to die. They went through an apoptosis, the opposite of what you want to do. Get it? That's how stupid they are. That's why a lot of people complain. They go, I'm getting smaller. They do. They get some of these damages and then they work through the damages, bro. Get it? And then they go, I'm getting smaller. Just think about it. How many people have you heard this before? They go, I'm getting smaller. They're getting smaller because they're losing these sarcomeres.
Rep 4, 5, 6. Usually by rep 6, almost guaranteed, and then you fail on rep 10. When you fail the 10th rep, they're not recruiting anymore either. That's why you.
Look, I'll tell you one more time. That mass that you're talking about is made up of organelles and mitochondria and everything inside the cell. Glycogen, a bunch of stuff. It's made up of a bunch of foofy, get it, inside the cell. The cell can only get so big and it cannot get any bigger. You understand me? So what do? You build more myofibrillars. And then they size up to their natural size. That's how they size up. Get it? And then what do? You need more myofibula. If you want to build more muscle, you need to build more myofibrillars. How do you do that? Damage more muscle fibers. The more muscle fibers you damage, the more chances you have of building what? More myofibrillars in parallel and in series. Get it? You understand me, man? These sarcomeres.
Fail. But it's only on the concentric rep. On the eccentric, it's the fast twitch fibers are not firing anymore. They're not necessary. The eccentric rep is.
What are you talking about, man? What is he talking about? The eccentric is mostly type 2 muscle fibers, the fast twitch muscle fibers, and some type 1. Yes.
Easier to do. That's why people can do eccentric reps after they've reached failure.
What are you talking about? Eccentric is astronomically difficult. It is astronomically uncomfortable for everybody. It's uncomfortable. Everybody will tell you it's uncomfortable. They don't like doing it because it's uncomfortable. And if you don't want to be uncomfortable, then don't do them. Do what's comfortable. Lift concentrically. Hurrah, and enjoy yourself. Be lifting slave forever, bro. Get it?
They're easier. They require less force. They don't require the fast twitch fibers. So you're not really using the fast twitch fibers on them. Do you see where we're going with
You are. You're using them even in powerlifting fast twitch. What are you talking about? They're just not getting damaged there.
that? So accordingly, if we were to extrapolate that, the only studies we ever see that show muscle growth from an eccentric rep at all is in novices.
The only eccentric growth ever is seen in novices. That makes absolutely no sense, man. Blah doesn't know anything about lifting. He's actually making this stuff up, which is actually funny. I'm having a good time listening to this bullshit, this rant.
You don't see it in trained lifters. So that's where one of the things, the minor conflicts in those studies, occasionally you see an occasional study where they didn't see really anything, a couple of them, because they might have used trained lifters.
You want to know why? Because those trained lifters were adapted to their exercises. And they weren't really doing eccentric overload exercises. You understand me? Here's the thing. How do you know that you're building myofibrillars? Here's the question. How do you know that you're building these contractile proteins? How do you know? How do you know? It's really easy. When you get DOMs from your workout, right? You do a specific workout that it's geared toward getting. First of all, your workout has to be geared towards getting this damage, right? So what damages muscles? Eccentric exercises. Okay, so we focus on doing eccentric exercise. Okay, we want to do heavy overload eccentric exercises, as many as we can muster on the day, right? As much as we could do, try to get as much as this the micro tear these muscles, because they're really hard to micro tear. They're difficult. The bar is very high. So we try to do as many sets and rep ranges of 8 and 12. Okay. So how do we know that how do we know now that we've done eccentric exercise, knowing that that's what causes muscle damage, that what causes the satellite cell to activate, proliferate, differentiate, fuse, create these, sarcomeres in series and parallel? Okay, so how do we know that we got it? Well, when we wake up the next day, we suffer from something called DOMS, and it usually could last 3 to 4 days. It can spill over to 5. Some people have even said 6 days. Yeah, for sure. That is quite a bit of damage, because you're quite unaccustomed to whatever it was you were doing. You're just not used to doing those ones. You understand me? But as you get more advanced at lifting these heavy loads, you'll find that that DOMS kind of feels different. It kind of feels different the first, second, or third day. It doesn't really spill over to 4 days anymore. But you know what I mean? But originally, when you start out, you're kind of getting all the time in this, but once you start going heavier and more sets, heavier eccentric loads and more sets, you find that you're getting the deeper, weaker muscle fibers. You start hitting them. And then that DOMS feels different now, because you were hitting the surface. You were just hitting, you're right now, all of you, if you're doing any eccentric, real overload exercise, you're just really hitting the surface. But as you get advanced into it, you get bigger and stronger. You're going to handle heavier and heavier loads. You're going to fucking hit the deeper, weaker muscle fibers. And that DOMS is going to feel different. So you're going off your senses and a feeling. You understand me? You'll know when you get damaged. Then you need to go through a repair and a remodeling. And the shortest period of time is 7 days. So in science, they'll tell you 7 to 14 days. Me personally, I would never go 14 days. Usually it's 7. If I need more, it's 10 days, the max for me. If I got a massive amount of damage and I may need a few extra more days, the longest I'll go is 10. I won't go past 10 days. So it's 7 to 10 days. I just know because experience tells me that. But that's just me. I don't know about other people, okay?
It seems to be the case. So you're probably only growing from the concentrics, and you're probably only growing from sets that are either you're producing.
You're not growing from the concentric. Concentric does not grow myofibrillars. They have to be damaged to grow. What is he talking about? Concentric exercise squeezes. It shortens the muscle at the top. It's shortening. What the hell is Blaha talking about? There's no growth there.
Out maximum force, or where you're within maybe 5 reps of failure.
And you're not going to damage any muscles if you're adapted. You understand what I'm talking? Oh, man. If you're adapted to these bouts of exercise that you're doing, you're not going to get damaged. But when you do get damaged, you're lucky to get that damage, I guess. Sometimes these people get damaged. They're lucky to get it because they're building some myofibrillars. But then they don't go through the repair and the remodeling. They want to go back to the gym because people like, what's his name? That phony lifter, Mike O'Hearn, the phony. He says, you have to work through the damage. What? You have to work through it. If you work through it, you destroy and kill the myofibrillars. They'll die. So what was the point of going there and damaging them? So you could lose them? That makes no sense, bro.
That's it. That's what happens when you get more advanced, guys. So the problem is when people are talking about the slow eccentric.
All right, you want to know why Blaha has such small arms? They're like 13-inch arms. 13, whatever. I'm being generous. 13.5-inch arms. Because Blaha has lost the myofibrillars in his arms. You want to know why he's lost them? Because he complained many times that he got this damage. I remember in his videos, he damaged or something. He got this fucking micro damage. And then he worked through the damages. They shrunk his arms. Yeah, because here's the thing. In powerlifting, when you deadlift, there's a heavy eccentric stretch on your arms. You understand me? There's a heavy stretch. And so he keeps overstretching it. So now he gets these, let's say he gets this DOMS, he gets this damage, whatever, but then he goes back and lifts the weight. He lifts it up. He keeps lifting it. You understand me? That's why a lot of power lifters have small arms, because they lost the sarcomeres in their arms. You can read scientific reports. It tells you they come back and they start lifting in a damaged state, and these things, they fork, they branch, and then they lose them. They lose these sarcomeres. Here's another thing. They also lose sarcomeres in series because they're lifting concentrically. You understand me? These power lifters, they're lifting concentrically, and that's associated. Lifting concentrically is associated with a loss of sarcomeres in series. So not only are you losing sarcomere in series lifting fucking powerlifting, right? You understand me? You're making your body weak, bro. Get it? You may be good at lifting the heavy weight, good at lifting it, but you made yourself weak. Your body is fucking weak, bro. And so, what was I going to say? So, yeah, it's associated with a loss in series and you losing them because you're working through the damage. That is just insane. That's crazy.
It's like, well, you don't really have...
And I posted it from AI. I posted in my community section. It talks about that. If you don't allow that 7 days, that's it, bro. They're dead. And apoptosis.
It's for it, not even in the real world, the anecdote with bodybuilders, or else the guys who didn't do them wouldn't have been winning all those Mr. Olympias. Plenty of them did. Now, some Mr.
I know that Dorian Yates, he managed to get in a lot of eccentric exercise. Maybe that's why he was so dense and hard. He looked pretty good. Now, as far as Ronnie Coleman, I can't tell you. Maybe he got some sarcomeres, maybe here and there. No. I know that Dorian, he still looked pretty big, even though when he lost all of the majority of his muscle, he had some left over that could have been the sarcomeres. I'm not sure. He seems to be pretty big. Like, if you look at him, he's still pretty big for his age and everything, you know? But anyway.
Olympias did, let me be clear. Guys like Phil Heath, yeah, plenty of slow eccentrics, very controlled lifter.
Slow eccentrics. Yeah, but if you're adapted, it won't matter. If you're adapted, it won't matter. So how do you get out of this adaptation? It's called an overworking of that muscle. You're trying to overwork the eccentric to get it to damage. That's how you do it.
Ronnie Coleman wasn't, Arnold wasn't, Jay Cutler wasn't, to this, at least not seriously. See where we're going with this?
Jay Cutler is still on steroids, man. He just can't get off because he can't handle being small and weak.
So you don't even have anecdote, and then when you look at the data behind how muscles grow when we get advanced, there's no real evidence. Does that mean you shouldn't do a controlled eccentric? No, I'm not saying that at all. That would be dumb. To dive bomb every squat, every bench, to just drop every curl would be stupid. You're going to get hurt. Not controlling the weight is not in your best interest. It makes sense. It's just common sense to do it. But it doesn't mean you're gaining more muscle from it. All right.
No. If you're adapted, then you're not causing damage to that muscle and you're not building more myofibrillars. He says if you're doing, you're not going to build muscle. You're not going to get more muscle from it. No, it itself doesn't give you muscle. The exercise itself does not give you muscles free. Doesn't work like that in the real world, blaha. See you in the next video, friends. I don't know what else to say there. That was a ridiculous video.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say on that today.
Thank God that's all he has to say. I get tired listening to him. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Tell me what you think about that. Ridiculous, blaha.